Hey guys, welcome to a different kind of video this time. As you can probably tell from the title, I'm trying something fun and starting a cool project. Now don't get me wrong, I love Fallout, but the latest releases hasn't been as great as they should be, so I want to make my own version of Fallout with my favourite bits taken from each Fallout throughout the series. Alright, so these videos are going to be fairly fast paced, so let's get right into it and I'll show you what I've done so far. So this is the first few days of development, which started by creating a Trello board, and this is where the size of the project really started to show. I even went to bed that evening and realized I missed quite a few things off, which is not good. But nonetheless, I figured it would be a good passion project and decided to continue anyway. So first things first, I wanted to set up a nice, good, solid player controller, just because mainly this obviously controls the whole gameplay, and then I would move on to the user interface. Alright, I decided I really want to use the new Unity input system, so added that in, and then also Pro Builder, added that in. Once my packages were installed, I immediately began work on my Capsule, my lovely Capsule, which I'm pretty sure is how most Unity projects start off, but yeah, no, this is something special. It's like the birth of a new Unity project. Alright, so at the end of the first day, I managed to get some smooth movement down, just quite simple moving forward, backwards, left and right. Also got the mouse movements done, so looking around, capped the Y, so you can't look at your feet and break your back. Also added a basic crouching system, so obviously all this works with the movement system, so when you're crouched you move a little bit slower, when you strafe you move slower than when you go forward, when you go backwards you move slower as well. So it all kind of works nicely together. But yeah, very simple, but nice and smooth. So start of the next day, it was actually quite nice to finally start ticking things off this list because this list is huge. This also means that we can finally add our completed list and actually add our first task into it, which is pretty awesome. So next I decided to actually tackle the user interface. So this includes the whole thirst, hunger, action points, all those kinds of systems because they all work together. So I figured I'd tackle them all at the same time. In terms of art direction, I actually decided to go with the whole Fallout 76 route because I actually quite liked the whole cartoony look. And the very simple user interface. So the way I'm building the progress bars is I'm actually building it ready to house two values. Obviously one for the actual value and one for a negative value. So say on the health bar we have the negative value of radiation, and on the action points bar we have the negative value of fatigue. Alright, so the bars actually looked quite nice once they were done. I've used Font Awesome for the icons, and I've actually just used Roboto for the text. Alright, so now the bars are in and actually working. If I sprint around, you can see I actually use up some action points, and when I jump, I use even more. Alright, so I've accelerated the hunger and thirst drain, so you can see that's currently making its way down, so you can kind of see how it affects the action points, and how it actually affects you if you're out trying to survive in the wasteland. So water obviously has a much bigger effect than food, but obviously right now they're currently going down at the same time. Food will actually just take it down to around 30% left, so you'll still be able to sprint and jump, but water will take it all the way down to where you see it now. So as you can see, when hunger or thirst is down, it starts draining the health as well. The health also has a similar effect. As you can see, the thirst and the food is busy flashing right now, so hunger will also flash. Alright, so another cool thing I've implemented is now that I've slowed down the hunger and thirst, I can show you how the action points actually drain the hunger and thirst. So while you're sprinting around the wasteland, it actually affects your thirst. So you can't just sprint around everywhere, you actually have to think about it. So if I go ahead and sprint for a little bit, just get my action points down. After the delay and it starts to make its way back up, you can see it actually uses some of my hunger and thirst. Obviously very accelerated, just so I can show you it working. But yeah, that's the gist. Okay, so a few more tasks done. Now we can finally move on to the bigger tasks, with the first big task actually being radiation. So in terms of UI, the radiation is actually pretty simple. I'm going to be following Fallout 76 for this UI too. It also relies heavily on sounds, so I've actually started to import a few sounds. The first one being if there's insufficient action points to do something, and then I've got radiation sound for each level of radiation. Okay, first things first is I want to make sure that the insufficient sound works for when there's no action points. So this is mainly if you try to jump and there's not enough action points, or if you try to sprint and there's not enough minimum action points. I then implemented the radiation sound, so it all just works off of an enum. So the enum just basically controls how much radiation there is on the player. So in our radiation script, all we basically need to do is change this enum to affect the player's sound. So taking a break from sound, I actually went on to implementing the actual radiation itself. So basically there's a script you can attach to a game object that'll basically allow you to attach some radiation to it. So there's the 3 different levels of radiation. So there's the semi-safe zone, the medium zone, and then the deadly zone. Obviously this will also depict what sound to play and how much damage to give. And then next was actually implementing the system to give radiation damage. So now I'm using the actual UI. So next to the health bar, you can see that we are actually taking radiation damage. The number being shown is actually not how much damage you're taking per second, and it's actual real time. So that will need to be changed. But as you can see, it's working pretty nicely and is also affecting the player's maximum health, which is exactly what we want. So I then began work on actually making it look nice and actually implementing the radiation sounds. With the number shown on the radiation, I also try to make it look a little bit unreliable. So every now and then I add around a number between 1 and 2, basically just to show it kind of like sequencing as opposed to showing it like 100% accurate. Just wanted to give it more of that realistic feel. Alright, I am going to play around with the sounds a little bit, but I believe the radiation is now finished. And the next step will actually be working on getting the user interface for the Pip-Boy to work. But that's it for this episode, and the next episode will be about the Pip-Boy, and we'll see what else we can get done. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.